one more time for some fantasy football talk here. Today I'm joined by Zemo and Alex. Zemo, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Happy to be back.
Yes, sir. Good to have you back on. Alec, how you doing?
I'm ready to talk some ball.
That's what I'm talking about right there. So we got some start sits for this weekend, dude. There's a lot of stuff, dude. So we have anybody that started on the IR is eligible to come back now. The PUP list, same way. Jonathan Taylor's at the top of that list. Him and Cooper Kupp both set to make their season debuts this week. I'm just gonna hop right into one of mine. Jonathan Taylor's a must start for me. He's playing the Titans. Titans rushing defense. In all honesty, has been decent. But my thing is that they haven't faced a rushing quarterback yet, and Anthony Richardson is a huge threat on the ground, and alone that's going to just force them to have to defend it differently. You know what I mean? And let's just not forget how good Jonathan Taylor was before he fell off the face of the earth, and him and Jim Irsay just got pissed off at each other, right? I mean, this is an uber talented running back that could explode, and I fully expect him to this week. Zemo, I know you are all in on Jonathan Taylor in a lot of leagues. Are you starting him this week or no?
Yes, I am. What's tough is I think we might see a couple people pop up that I'm debating whether I start them over a little later in this podcast, but I just don't see how with that upside you can't start him. I don't think his floor is any lower than an easy flex play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's guaranteed enough touches if he's playing, which he is, that we see running backs like Joe Mixon right here get touches. We see running backs like Kyren Williams getting touches and playing RB2 status. Jonathan Taylor is worldly better than both of them as a talented running back.
Oh, boy.
Give him the ball that many times, we're fine.
No, he is. I'm all in on JT too. I have Jonathan Taylor in like a lot of leagues because he fell so far.
Yeah.
I mean, he had fallen. If you drafted like Labor Day weekend, he was there in like round 7 in some leagues, which is just insane.
You want it, dude? So I'm in a league that it was drafted really late, Labor Day weekend, and it was a Superflex 10-man league. I drafted second, took Josh Allen second, came back around to me. Cooper Kupp was still there. I took Cooper Kupp. That obviously has not worked out for me yet. And then in the 6th or 7th round, I took JT. So I'm 1-3 right now, but like,
yeah, well, I
have Kupp and JT coming back to me.
Yeah,
so
there was a short time. I have JT and Kupp in a couple of leagues. There's a short time where you could have gotten like Ray, nice Waddle, dude.
Getting Waddle in the trade.
That's about the lowest you're going to get.
There was a short time where if you drafted like at the end of the first, you could have gotten like Kelsey, Kupp, and then Breece Hall in like the 4th.
Yeah,
your team would be just and Jonathan Taylor. Your team would be nuts.
Yes, Ray's got a Jalen Hurts, Olave, and Waddle. Just got him in a trade last night. Barkley, Demont, Hockenson is flex, or Hockenson is tight end flex. He's got DK, he's got Moody, and he's got the Ravens and the Eagles.
How many people?
That's a solid squad right there.
How many people in the league, Ray?
Because that's a nice team there, dude.
Okay.
I mean, obviously Saquon, it's going to be nice to get him back, right? I don't know I think he's questionable for this week. It's a little I expect him to not play this week.
You don't think he'll play?
I don't know. He wants to trade Barkley now. What running back do you think I can get for him? I would say wait for Barkley to come back and wait for him to play a game. Like once he plays a game, he's probably going to have a good game just because of the volume he's going to get. He's playing Miami this week. If he plays, perfect. But I would wait for him to play a game because then you can actually get value from him. Right now, I feel like people might ask for a lot less just because he's not playing. I don't know. Thoughts on that, Zemo?
Yeah, I think Barkley is so talented that if you're trading him right now, I don't know if you just trade him because he's injured, but like he is a top 5 running back when he's playing. So the value I think you could get for him, I think you could get a running back and somebody to help maybe at a flex or 2 running backs for him that both maybe could start if Demont starts losing touches.
Yeah. I would also say that like looking at your team, if you're giving away Saquon, you have to be getting a true RB1 back because Demont's not a true RB1. Great RB2, especially with like the volume he's going to get with the offense that he's in. He's a great RB2, but I would say keep that. You want to have that RB1, that league winning, a guy that could come in and put up 35 plus in any given week, right? As Demont just put up 32 last week, I think. But either way, you know what I'm saying? Just that week in, week out, dominating the backfield. So I'd say if you're giving up Barkley, make sure you're getting somebody back. But Alec, why don't you hit us with one of your start sits this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with a start. I'm actually like really I actually did a little more research on this one than I usually do, rather than just like looking at my benches and who I'm going to start. I'm starting Gus. I don't have Gus Edwards in any leagues, but if I did, I would start him this week. He's averaging like, I think, if I remember, like 90 plus rushing yards a game against like the last 4 times he played against the Steelers. And Justice Hill isn't fully healthy yet. He had Gus Edwards had like 15 carries last week. He's getting the bulk of the carries. And I think this is going to be like a ground and pound game. Just it always is with the Steelers and Ravens.
Well, the other thing is the Steelers are giving up 150 rushing yards per game right now. Like it's awful.
Yeah, and it's like the perfect matchup because Gus plays well against the Steelers and the Ravens run. I mean, it's just like it seems like the perfect matchup this week. Therefore, because I'm saying this, he'll have 14 carries for 39 yards. But on paper, like it's a great matchup.
Would you trade Saquon Barkley and DK Metcalf for Derrick Henry and James Cook? Already tried Barkley for Eckler and they rejected it. Still haven't tried Barkley and Metcalf for Walker and Mixon. I would rather Barkley and Metcalf than all of those, in my opinion. I think
I would agree.
D Hen you're gonna have to buy high right now. I actually just traded away D Hen in a league because I could sell high on him. James Cook is gonna be good, but I think Saquon is just has that upside on anybody else in that trade. What about you, Alec?
Yeah, about that trade. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that just Saquon is a potential, you're right. You said it 30, if in the playoffs, he could score you 30. I just don't know if Derrick Henry or James Cook could get you has that high of a ceiling.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too about Saquon is that not only has he not been playing right, but this Giants offense has been like as bad as you can possibly be. They're just not scoring touchdowns. So when they start to score touchdowns, because no matter how bad you are, at some point you're going to figure it out, right? When you do, Saquon's going to be at the core of that, So standard.
Okay. All right. That changes things a little bit.
Yeah, that does change it a little bit.
Here's if it's standard, here's the problem though. Henry's great in standard. James Cook isn't because James Cook doesn't score touchdowns. So
yes, but so Saquon yardage wise is probably fine, right? And I'm looking at like receivers, Olave and Waddle are good. DK, I'd probably want to hold on to because I think DK is a yards machine, right? I mean,
yeah, it's like 4 or 5 catches, but he's 70 plus yards, right?
Yeah. I just think that Derrick Henry is like a top 6 player in a standard league.
I think it depends. In the second half of the season, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any week he plays the Texans, he's like number 1. But
yeah, I don't know because that's tough because like Saquon and D Hen I think are very similar when Saquon's healthy, but he's not right now, right? And then James Cook and DK Metcalf. I think this is a lot. Yeah, Dick Chubb owner. Okay, that
rest in peace.
That checks out. Yeah. Then that's tough now because
in a standard, I honestly might go with that, especially if you do have another flex option that's not far under Metcalf.
Yeah. Well, in standard, running backs are just so much more valuable.
Yeah, because your flex could be James Cook or Demon in that scenario, and I think
Demon's Demon's great in standard.
Yes, great
because he gets 20 carries a game.
Yeah, no, that I completely agree with you there. That's tough. That's tough being a Chubb owner there. Zima, why don't you hit us with one of your start sits for the week, though?
All right, this is a guy I was very high on in the preseason, and I try to draft him in most of my leagues. But I'm going to go with an Arizona Cardinal. Sorry, Alec. James Conner. I did a good amount of research on him as well in this. So I looked up and kind of saw the Bengals defense has been a little rough this season. Not great, but it also doesn't help their offense hasn't been performing. But if you look, I saw that running backs combined have averaged 26 touches. Now, that's not just RB1. That's combined between all of the backfield. And they've averaged 134 total yards per game as a backfield.
James Conner.
James Conner has
Lions defense last year.
Oof. Lions or James Conner has got 76% of the touch share in his backfield so far, and he's averaged 87% of their total yards per game from the backfield. So if you're just taking that like numbers from so far and it keeps up, he's looking at a 100-yard game against the Bengals. And also, he's been putting these numbers up against Dallas defense, San Francisco defense. He's been playing really good defensive fronts, and they've been in a negative game script big time, like in some of these games, like where they have to be throwing the ball to compete. They don't necessarily have to throw the ball. They could come out and run the ball pretty heavily with a quarterback that can run and a running back, and then they
Yeah.
could really win the game. So I just think he's going to be due for a big day. Those 15, 20 touches he gets, he's not running against Nick Bosa or Micah Parsons this time. So
I mean, he's running against Trey Hendrickson. That's who he's running against.
Yeah.
Alec, as a Bengals fan, how do you think James Conner ends up going against this week?
I think it's tough because the Bengals, like last year and the year before, were unbelievable at stopping star running backs. So it's kind of a weird trend this year that they're not. Probably due to because their offense can't sustain drives, and the defense out on the field a lot. I don't know. I mean, you did the research. Like, I like it. I like James Conner. Like, as objectively, I do like him this week.
You're just not necessarily rooting for James Conner to play well.
No, I will not be rooting for James Conner this week. I don't think so.
That's all right. So Ray said he's got Christian Watson in his flex this week. Also have Jacoby Myers and picked up J-Mo and Zach Ertz. J-Mo could be something to throw in there this week. Amon-Ra's doubtful right now. I'm not expecting Amon-Ra to play. The issue is I don't know how big of a workload J-Mo's going to get, right? Like, is he going to come in and run 40 routes, or is he going to come in and run 15 to 20? I would expect he's going to come in and run kind of in between that 25 to 30. But if you're in standard, dude, J-Mo is somebody that could have 2 catches for 120, 130 yards. Like, so I don't know. I don't know. Who would you rather have, Myers, Watson, or J-Mo? You got to start one in a standard. Start with you, Zemo.
in a standard, I am still a Christian Watson believer, and I'm still going Christian Watson.
Yeah.
I just think Jacoby Myers is very good in a PPR format. He's going to get 5 catches, 60 yards. He's at least getting double digits. But Christian Watson is return game, barely plays, gets a touchdown. They've been throwing touchdowns to Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs like crazy, and Christian Watson is a way more talented player. I think that he's going to be getting a lot more touchdowns throughout the year. I think he's got the more touchdown upside, especially with Jameson Williams having Demont, Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta playing way better right now.
Yeah,
right? Christian Watson doesn't have much competition.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. What about you, Alec?
Yeah, I think Christian Watson too. I think playing against that Raiders secondary too, he has the potential to kind of have his first breakout game of the year.
Yeah.
It's also hard for it's hard for Jacoby too to get a lot of yards when Devontae's playing. If Devontae doesn't play, I could see Jacoby Myers, but Devontae, he finished the week last week. He hasn't been practicing, but I mean, he should be playing. So, and
it's a Monday night game, so he gets more time.
Yeah, gets an extra
Christian Watson. Monday night game gets more time.
Yeah, yep, gets a little bit more time. So I will go to my second.
You see that? That was not a bad move. I like that one. I like the trade of Puka.
I love that.
I think that's
perfect timing.
You're going to trade him for.
Yeah.
Other wide receivers are Keenan, Mike Evans, Watson, Myers, and Reed. You got Amon-Ra. Holy smokes!
It might hurt you this week, but you're already 4-1 or 4-0, so it really doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have enough receivers that you can play them.
Yeah, I mean you're
in a 12 team. That's crazy.
Keenan's on a bye this week, so you're gonna be starting Mike Evans and Christian Watson.
Is Mike Evans gonna play?
Well, maybe not. So I mean, but either way,
you're 4-0. Okay. One of my start sits that I have an idea for him to maybe pick up instead of Reed. If Josh Reynolds is in your league, Josh Reynolds could be huge.
Yep.
For the Detroit Lions, because I mean, he had like 20+ points first 2 weeks. Week.
And that was with Amon-Ra playing. And in all honesty, looking at what the Lions have, like that is not a huge deep ball receiver, right? Laporta's going to get his targets, right? Gibbs is going to get his probably. He's questionable. Picked up a hamstring injury in practice this week. But outside of those two, like Khalif Raymond's not going to get that much volume, right? J-Mo, first game back, he's a deep ball receiver. He's got other routes in his arsenal, but I wouldn't expect it to be that big, right? Josh Reynolds is the really only receiver that's been consistently getting volume throughout the entire season so far that's going to be playing. So I'm with you there. But dude, that receiving core, I'm curious to hear what you're going to pick up Reynolds, have Monty too. Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. I'm curious to hear what your running back core is like, or rest of your team, because that is
a 12 team, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Just the receiving core of Amon-Ra, Keenan Allen to start every week is filthy.
And having Mike Evans or Watson as a flex option, that's crazy.
Yeah, and Jacoby Myers, dude. Like, and I'm curious if it's full PPR as well because this.
Yeah, you said it.
Did he say full
Oh,
PPR?
no, he didn't. No, he didn't say it. I'm sorry. I just said 12.
Okay, yeah. So Monty Pollard and holy smokes, jeez.
Yeah, somebody knew how to draft in that one.
Yep. Just Venmo request your league mates right now. Just do that because that is a squad and a half right there. Half PPR. Jeez.
Yeah, that's great.
No kidding. Dude, so going to a sit here. Zemo, why don't you hit us with your first sit? Because we all gave us some starts. Lamar and Kelsey. Jeez.
Dude.
No, like actually, did everybody else auto draft?
I'm
Oh
trying
my
to
gosh.
think of I'm thinking of how the draft script would have gone, right? You would have went Pollard, or you would have
And
went
Kelsey.
Kelsey. You would have went Kelsey,
Pollard.
or maybe Kelsey, Amon-Ra, Pollard, right?
Well, he didn't draft Amon-Ra.
Oh, that's right. That's right. You traded.
Puka.
Yeah, so Kelsey, Pollard, and then
Then
Lamar,
probably
Keenan Allen would have been the next one.
Yeah, Lamar and Keenan, and then after that, it would have
then
been
Kamara,
and
like the 6th round range.
Christian Watson.
Yeah.
probably.
And yep. Wow, dude, that is a squad.
That's
Kelsey,
great.
Pollard, Lamar, Keenan. Yeah. Wow, that is a filthy team. Filthy team. Would you trade Puka and Madison for Olave? Absolutely.
Yes, Olave is at a absolute sell low right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolute
And
sell low,
Puka,
and Puka's
and
at a high.
Puka's a sell high. Yep. And I actually have. We'll go to one of my sits here because I was just about to, because he mentioned him. I have Madison as a sit this week. Madison is, first week that Akers was there, Akers got nothing. Last week, Akers had 5 carries for 40 yards. Madison only saw 17 carries and 1 reception. I'm expecting this backfield to slowly turn into a split because they realize they don't want Madison carrying the ball 20 times a game, right? You don't just go and trade for Cam Akers, who's done really nothing, because you want him. You know what I mean? You trade for him because you need somebody to take some volume away from Madison, and you're getting a true wide receiver 1 there. I'm accepting that immediately. What about you, Alec?
Yeah. No, I think you have to, especially if it's full PPR.
Mm-hmm.
Olave probably won't be as good unless Derek Carr's if Derek Carr's super healthy, Olave's value is very high. Or if they don't play hurt Derek Carr, and Jameis is playing, his value is super high too. So
yeah. Well, I also think that we kind of saw it earlier in the year with Garrett Wilson, right? The other Ohio State receivers, you're getting your game plan is to get open downfield, right? And that's what Olave is that that 12 yards and on downfield, right? Is he's really good at it. And if that's not working, they're just going to get the ball in your hands. That's what we saw with Garrett Wilson, right? 10 receptions on 15 targets last week. I would expect them to start to do the same thing with Olave. Is dude, you are our playmaker, right? Get the ball in your hands. Zemo, as a Saints fan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and to go off what Ray just said, he said he was watching the game and Derek Carr looked injured and horrible, right? There was one drive in particular, I think Olave had 1 target or 0 targets maybe at the time, and it was second half, and they just throw a deep ball, and Derek Carr overthrows him by about a yard on a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And coming across the middle, overthrows him on one again. He just wasn't, he should not have played, and he did. And if it was Jameis, maybe he connects on one of those, and then that week looks way different, and you're not going to be able to trade for Olave there.
Dude, Jameis came into that game slinging.
What do you expect?
He came in for 1 snap and said, "Yeah, let's go long."
Dude, you guys got a front row last week to the Bake Show, 3-1.
Yeah, all right.
Is Baker QB1 in fantasy?
No, definitely not in fantasy.
Especially with no Evans.
Yeah.
Talking about QBs, I actually have 2 QBs on my start sit lists, and I think we'll go to the sit. Josh is going to love this one. Dak Prescott. I don't see any way that somebody is willing to start Dak Prescott in a fantasy league, especially the performance he's had in games they're putting up 40. Their defense has been almost scoring more than he has this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have. And I don't know. They have a good enough run game, and there's better quarterbacks on the waiver wire. There's all these rookies, and there's these quarterbacks that new team that aren't supposed to be very good, And then what happens? We got Baker performing I'd rather start Baker in games.
Well, even like Stafford, right? Like,
Yeah,
Oh, Stafford's huge.
Like,
Stafford's a
so many
major
quarterbacks
star.
that are bigger upside than Dak
Mhm.
Prescott in
Yeah,
like these
like-
games.
there are several quarterbacks that were not drafted that you would start. Like Stafford's one, CJ
Purdy.
Stroud's one, Purdy is one. At least Purdy's team is going to be offense is going to be scoring plenty. You know what I mean? Dallas offense hasn't scored a ton. Their defense has been unreal, but like, yeah,
And Sam Howell, I picked him up in a fantasy league last night and started him over Dak. Actually, it worked out pretty well, even though they
did not start off well.
No,
but the negative game script really helped out, which I started him in one league too, which I was happy.
And then can we talk about the fact that the Cowboys are playing the 49ers?
Yeah.
He's been doing minimal performances against the Cardinals and a bunch of teams that defense is nowhere near the 49ers. So,
well, also just thinking about this too is that the San Francisco offense is not going to this is going to be a slow game, a slow-paced game. You know what I mean? Both defenses are elite. Both have really good running backs. Like, San Francisco is going to ground and pound this game, and they're not going to turn the ball over. So Dallas is like overall possessions that you're going to get is just not going to be that good. You know what I mean? They're not going to be that many. You know what I mean? You're getting significantly less possessions than when you play whoever, the Cardinals, and you're forcing turnovers. And in that game script, even worked out for them. Ray saying he hopes Moody's on his way to kicking many field goals. I don't know.
He needs Dak to do the old Dak and just start slinging the ball down the field and hoping to take chances.
Well, dude, my thing with Dak is it's coming at some point, right? Like,
that's what I'm saying, and this is a big type of game for it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get the ball much. San Fran has a 7-minute drive and scores a touchdown. He comes out and tries to make up for it, and there's one pick, right?
We saw it last year when they played them in the playoffs. I mean, it was 19-12. Was that the final?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Purdy got shut down in that game too. I think that Purdy's like a waiver wire QB too, and I think he would be probably a sit this week too.
Well, I think both of them it's just a matchup that doesn't favor anybody. Like CMC, Pollard, both starts undoubtedly, right?
Other than that, though, like Ayuk,
CeeDee Lamb, you have to start.
Yeah.
But like Debo, Ayuk, maybe, right? Yeah, Kittle, I would sit. I would sit Kittle this week, just because I think there's better tight ends out there. You know what I mean?
I think you have to start. Like, if you have Jake Ferguson as your tight end, you just have to start him because he gets like 8 targets a game.
Yeah.
But it's like, like you wouldn't start Michael Gallup this week if you're like really desperate for a flex, or you know what I mean?
Brandon Cooks, I'm not starting him.
Even though Michael Gallup's had like 90 and 60 yards last 2 games, you're not going to start him against San Fran.
Right.
So
this is one of those where I just don't want anything to do with the offenses. Obviously you have your locks, but I don't want a ton to do. I'm forced to play Ayuk in a league this week, and I'm hoping that that's who Purdy decides to just deal to. But
it's one or the other every week, so you just have to flip a coin and hope it's not Debo and it's Ayuk.
Yeah. Dude, this is one I have for a start and also a trade for ASAP if you can. It's Breece Hall, dude. Adams did not practice today, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. I think well, did you see I think that his injury was pretty significant last Sunday, but he just went back in the game.
Yeah. Well, it could end up being like there've been a few of those. Like the Lions have had 2 in their secondary. CJ Gardner-Johnson in week 2 gets injures his pec, comes back into the game, is like plays throughout the game, and now is out for the season. Topic of receivers, Ridley's popping off this week, calling your shot. All right, Nick, we'll hold you to it, dude. I wouldn't be surprised. It's coming, dude. He had week 1. He said pretty much 3 crappy weeks since then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had a long touchdown last week, but that was it. I mean, his target share is like plummeting.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk looks like the dude still, like even after last year when he was like the main guy.
Yeah. Speaking of Christian Kirk, Zima, you starting him or sitting him this week?
Actually, on the sit list this week, Alec. So I'm rooting for you here, Nick. So Christian Kirk, I don't think that there's any way against the Bills, which is also why I fear Ridley, that I'm willing to start Christian Kirk again over some of the receivers that would be in the same range as him. Like you're starting someone in my league started Christian Kirk over DJ Moore in one of my leagues this week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's I mean, understandable. Christian Kirk's been playing well. I was going to say the Bills were so good against the Dolphins two main receivers last week. The people that were performing was Braxton Berrios and Durham Smythe. Like what those are not the guys that you would expect, and I just think it's the same way with. I don't think Christian Kirk is going to get much production, and I don't know how much Ridley's going to get this week, but I just don't see him getting many catches this week, especially not for deep down the field.
Yeah, but Tre'Davious White being out is a huge miss. Like, and that happened late in that game, that Miami game too. And you think like if Tre'Davious White were to like just not play that game entirely, Tyreek Hill might probably puts up 100 plus, right? Like Tre'Davious White is a huge aspect of that defense, and I would expect Ridley to do well. As Nick's mentioning there, yeah, Cam Robinson coming back is going to help too. Von Miller's coming back, right? I know he's getting back into practice. I don't know if he's playing this week or not, but that's going to be a huge aspect. This is going to be a fun early morning game on Sunday over is it in London?
Yeah, dude, it's going to be infinitely better than whatever we had to watch last Sunday morning.
Hey, dude, let's not be hating on the Atlanta Falcons here.
I'm not trying to hate. I'm not trying to hate, but that was just awful. Yeah.
You're trying to tell me Desmond isn't that guy?
Well, I don't know. I'm not an NFL scout, but if I had to put my life on it, probably not. Probably not.
Dude, the issue with the Falcons is that they're good enough that like they won't have a top like 7 pick, probably. But like they're bad enough that like you're never gonna win with Ritter at quarterback. You know what I mean?
They definitely need a quarterback. Their offense is so talented too that like skill position wise, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 4 guys they drafted in the top 8 picks, or 3 guys that they drafted in the top 8 picks that are just unbelievable.
Yeah. I feel bad for like Bijan, dude. Like
I know. I feel bad for Bijan still gets to at least touch the ball.
Kyle Pitts.
I feel bad for Kyle Pitts and Drake London, dude.
Yeah.
They're wide open on air, and they're just not. It's Jonnu Smith getting the ball.
It's because Jonnu Smith runs it 3 yards downfield instead of being open 20 yards downfield.
Dude, Jonnu Smith is actually not that bad.
No, he's not. But like Kyle Pitts is miles better. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'll go to my other sits here. My other sit I have is Jerry Jeudy. He just hasn't gotten the volume yet, and he's kind of in that like. I don't think you should be starting him in any leagues. Like, I don't think it should work out that way. But where you drafted him at, as bye weeks start to kick in too, especially with receiver, like if you have Keenan Allen, you have DK Metcalf, like you have a few of those guys. Bye weeks are starting to kick in. You might be missing some spots, but I'm not starting Jerry Jeudy. I just don't think he's getting the volume. I don't believe in this offense. I want nothing to do with them, and he's facing Sauce. So I just don't think he's going to be doing much this week, really at all. Nick says they need to trade for an average quarterback like Tannehill or Mac Jones, and they'd be fine. Yeah, I don't know what the move is because, like, I wouldn't go Tannehill, but Mac Jones isn't a bad option just because at least he's young. Tannehill's just
go with the Taylor Heineke shout.
Yeah, the Taylor Heineke actually would at least give them like a floor instead of like 3 targets a game.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's like the what we're looking forward to, but
yeah, I mean, it's just an unfortunate situation. Like, because if Bijan wasn't so good and your defense wasn't playing well, you would be probably 3-14, and you'd be in this Caleb Williams like sweepstakes, right? But instead, you have a shitty quarterback, and you can kind of like get along with it because your team's good enough elsewhere. But
I could see them being a trade up candidate next year.
I was just about to say, kind of like Carolina is the vibe. Like last year, Carolina is the vibe I get because like
they might not be able to get Caleb, but like Drake May or Quinn Ewers, or like if they really like somebody, then they just trade up and get them.
Yeah.
What do you think about the trade that they could have? I mean, it already happened, but they could have maybe tried to got Trey Lance back when he went to the Cowboys. Like, I don't know, like just someone that has the potential. Like you wouldn't have to give up a bunch for Trey Lance either. But I think the talent is way better than Ritter, even being a UC guy. I don't think Ritter.
I think with Ritter could be like honestly, like I think he could actually be a pretty good backup for a while. Just because like when he comes in the game, you see some backups come in, dude. They can't complete a pass.
No.
And like Ritter can complete, like his completion percentage isn't that bad. So I could see him being a backup, but I don't think he's like the guy.
Even Minshew as an interim guy to get them through. Yeah, no kidding. I think that's kind of what that's what Indy thought it was, that it had Minshew as, right? Is if A-Rich doesn't work out, which he is, like A-Rich has all of the draft hype he got, he is living up to right now. But that's what Minshew was, is just that insurance policy, right? Of if he ends up being terrible, like what Ritter is right now, right? That's our insurance policy. I'm curious to see how many more weeks they let Ritter go, right? Because they start off 2-0, right? So it's like, how mad can you be, right? Like he's 2-0 as a starter, but you start to lose games, you string together 4 or 5 losses in a row, and he's playing poorly. Then it's like, okay, we're gonna make a switch or something. I wouldn't be surprised if they do throughout the season.
Yeah. With Ritter, it's like when they started off 2-0, it's like the worst thing that could have happened.
Yes,
because it's like it's like when we play basketball and somebody that's bad like makes a 3 and then they think they can take 10, but then they go 0 for 10. It's like the same thing. You like get this false hope going 2-0, and then boom, you're 2-8, and you're like, dude, what happened?
Yeah. No, it's like watching Russ like hit his first 2 threes.
Yeah, it's like when Russell Westbrook hits a 3, the first 3, you're like, oh my god.
No, he's gonna finish 1 for 8 now. Like,
yeah.
But no, dude, I think the Falcons. Well, that's how the entire NFC South was, right? Zima, as a Saints fan, it was all about. They were like, "Oh, the NFC South is looking dangerous this year." I saw that in so many Instagram posts after 2 weeks, and it's like
dangerous for everybody to finish 8-9.
Well, it's because the Bucs were 2-0, the Falcons were 2-0, and the Saints were 1-1, and then like whatever, the Panthers were 0-2, but like they're like, "Oh, the NFC South's looking dangerous." It's what ESPN posted or something. I was like, "Yeah." Dangerous to compete for the first overall pick, like
yeah, or dangerous to. I mean, dude, last year the Bucs were what 8-9, and won it.
I think so.
Or were they? Yeah, no, they weren't 7-10.
What'd you guys finish last year?
I think we ended up. I was gonna say either 6-11 or 7-10, but that we had no shot. Honestly. Yeah. Offensively, we were just so bad. No shot to win. Our defense, honestly, I just always said is our strong suit. I mean, how many times can we get in the freaking red zone and not put a touchdown in? It's just beyond me.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. This I can tell you right now, there are some really good games though, like the primetime games. Like we talked about Buffalo Jacksonville this week, dude, and then the San Fran Dallas game is going to be a great game too. The Jets against Denver is an okay game. Kansas City, Minnesota, in all honesty, might be a decent game on prime time. There's a few games that are going to be terrible, like the Giants Miami is going to be a blowout. Like Miami's 12.5-point favorites in that game.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's the NFL. The crazy part is, dude, the Giants will like somehow to like find a way to make it a game just because it's the NFL.
Yeah. Daniel Jones will pop off this game.
He'll just for no reason, and just it'll be like 35-31 or just something crazy.
Yeah. They're like,
okay, so I have 2. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 sits kind of in a row because they're kind of like the same thing for me. It's Ramondre Stevenson and Najee Harris this week, and kind of the reason behind it is they both get a lot of their snap share is really good. They run a lot of routes. Problem is they're on bad, like really bad offenses. And they're not very efficient. So, the Patriots are playing the Saints. The Saints are really good against opposing running backs, fantasy-wise. And then the Ravens are really good against fantasy running backs-wise, playing the Steelers. So, I think I'd be out on both of them this week if you can. I know that you drafted them probably both in the 3rd or 4th round. Yeah. And it's hard. But if you can find any way to find a better option, I would try to.
Yeah. I'm completely with you there. I have a start though, and it's Tank Dell against the Falcons. The Falcons against slot receivers are horrendous, like absolutely horrendous, dude. They're awful. And Tank Dell just is coming off of his worst week yet. He did literally nothing last week, and Nico Collins popped off. I would expect that all of Atlanta's, defensive, focus is going to be towards Nico Collins. I'd expect AJ Terrell to pretty much shadow him, and I would expect that Tank Dell is going to be the guy this week. I don't know. Thoughts on that, Zemo?
Yeah, no, I mean, I honestly, I'm a big Texans are winning this game this week in my mind, and I just think CJ Stroud has genuinely shocked me. He's outperforming what I thought he would do. And not just that, like I don't know if it's just going to be like a Tank Dell because other people aren't doing as well. Like I think that they might, like CJ Stroud might throw 300, 350 yards type of game, like to where he is just slinging the ball around like you did last week and the week before, and it might be a multiple like person type of game.
Yeah. Kind of going off that. One of my starts is Nico Collins this week.
Okay.
I think Nico could have a big week. I didn't put it on here, but I also think, like you said, multiple people. I think Robert Woods. I think one of the three. I think two of the three are going to have a pretty big week.
Yeah.
Like of Robert Woods, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins.
So my question, does that make CJ Stroud a must start this week then?
That's tough. It's tough because
I think it just depends on if you're starting him over who. Like Dak, yeah, 100%, not even close. I would almost do it every week now. But like, I have Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud. I don't know what to do. Like, I just have no idea because Anthony Richardson rushing upside is so there. But if he doesn't get a rushing touchdown, I haven't had to face that yet. But if CJ Stroud, I just think he's throwing the ball so much better right now than a lot of quarterbacks in the league are. So I do think CJ Stroud's almost in a must-start situation, especially against the Falcons. There's no way the Falcons are good enough to pull this game away like full-handedly, which allows the Texans to have a little bit of a run game too to open up the pass even more.
Yeah. Nick, as Nick's a Jags fan, he's saying scary to see how the Texans are putting their team together. I would say it's scary to see how good CJ Stroud looks with really not great receivers yet. Like, I know we were talking about this on Wednesday, Alec, of like Nico Collins, Tank Dell. These guys are doing well in fantasy right now, right? I want them in fantasy. They're not necessarily great receivers. Like, if you were to add if Houston somehow ends up being 6-3, right, through 9 weeks, and we see them add like Devontae Adams to the
I was about to say that, yeah.
Like, this team gets dangerous because now you actually have a receiver that you could throw like a 5-yard slant to, and he's going to break 3 tackles, or you could throw him a contested ball and he's going to moss somebody. Same receiver, you know what I mean? And that's just something they don't have. Like Nico Collins, Tank Dell playing well, but when you give a young quarterback somebody that good, dude, they could take off.
I know it'll make Damian Pierce play worldly better too.
Yes.
I also think a sneaky, like if your tight ends are really struggling, kind of monitor Dalton Schultz over the next couple of weeks, because if this offense is still really good, like I think Dalton Schultz could kind of take off too a little bit, like he did in Dallas the last couple of years. No offense, I know we're Dak haters, but he got a lot of targets there. Yeah, no, he's got plenty of talent, and he was very fantasy relevant for the last several years with Dallas. Yeah. So let's not just forget about him, right? Yeah.
But this Houston offense is a shock right now. That's to say the least.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to go on to another start. So if you got something else about the Jags.
I was just going to say they're putting up 24 points a game from Houston. If you would have told me they're putting up, which is like middle of the pack for the league, but like if you would have told me Houston's put up 24 points through CJ Stroud's first 4 starts, I would have laughed.
The fact that the Jags are going to be scared right now, which they kind of should be of the Texans.
Yeah, and by the way, my other thing here, while looking at this, Atlanta's 2-2. They're putting up 15.5 points per game. At 2-2, this is not going to stay like that. Not
be sustainable. Not sustainable.
You're not going to continue. You're not going to be 500 team putting up 15 points per game. That's like bottom 5 in the league. So yeah, go ahead, Zemo, to your next starter set.
Well, it's funny. Ray and Nick have been talking a decent amount about a lot of my start sit guys. So Ray, I agree. This has to be the week Waddle scores. Right?
I thought you were going to say start Ryan Tannehill for a second.
Oh no. I don't know if that's even ever possible. I think I should be on the
Superflex. I think maybe on a bye week. That's it.
Yeah, on a bye week in a Superflex. That's crazy.
Superflex 16 team league.
Yeah. But no, I agree. So they have the Giants this week, and the Giants there's a lot of the wide receiver 2s that they've been playing have had pretty bad fantasy performances. So it's like, oh well, maybe Waddle's, this isn't the game he's going to break out. The wide receiver 2s they've been playing are Michael Wilson. And then, he's been doing great, don't get me wrong, but he only had 3 targets, 3 catches in that game. Let's see, who else? I'm trying to think who else. Oh, the Cowboys. Michael Gallup, he had 2 targets and 1 catch. He didn't have to do anything. The defense, that game script was destroyed. So it's going to make it look like the Giants' defense is so much better than it is against wide receivers. They're like top 10 in the league against wide receivers right now. But that's only because the Giants got blown out twice to where wide receivers aren't even needed. Like San Francisco, they didn't need to throw the ball. They were up so big so early that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Seattle.
Well, the other thing too is that they're playing teams with really good defenses. Like
Yes.
the Giants are playing teams with really good defenses. So you are playing teams that you can't score on. So the game script is going to end up that whoever you're playing against is just going to run the ball. I can tell you right now, Miami's defense is awful. Like not awful, but it's definitely not good. So the Giants are probably who knows, right? I was going to say the Giants are going to score points, but based off what we've seen this year, maybe not. But you would like to think the Giants are going to score points this week, and if they score points, you're going to have to throw the ball, and when they do, Waddle's going to be hitting. I'm with you here, Zemo.
And especially with the fact that Miami just got smoked by a division opponent.
Yes,
And
this is a
I
huge
think
bounce
that
back.
this is a huge
Bounce
let's
back.
come out, win by 30 and a
Mhm.
minus 12.5. I think they're going to go for a win by 30 if it's even close. Like they want to extend the lead.
Yeah,
And I might
Nick
agree
said-
with Nick that they might cover, but
I agree, Nick.
I see
think
this as a backdoor. I see it as a backdoor cover. It's going to be like a 17-point game. Daniel Jones is going to have a rushing touchdown where he runs 3 guys over and celebrates in the end zone with 15 seconds left. That's what's going to happen.
yeah, I could see a
The
cover.
public's
But
gonna- yeah.
the Dolphins are not trying to win this game by 14. They're trying to win this game by 30 after just getting smoked. So
Yes, the issue is that the Dolphins' defense, if they don't make some serious changes, is going to they're going to give up points. Like Daniel Jones is quick, he can move. Their offense has been terrible. They've gotten a lot of hate, right? A ton of hate. You're crazy if you think that this isn't going to be better. The other thing too is that Miami's pass rush really just isn't good. So that's what's terrible for the Giants is their pass protection. So if you give Daniel Jones time, no quarterback is going to look good if he's getting sacked double-digit times in a game. You know what I mean? Like Mahomes wouldn't look good in that offense. So let's not act like getting pressured 18 times in a game is you can still be good. You can't. So when you're not getting pressured, I think that they're actually going to be okay. I'm not saying good, but they'll be okay.
They'll be like, I think they'll be like they were. If Saquon's healthy, they'll be like they were last year. They kind of just lean on him, and Daniel Jones gets 40 to 50 rushing yards a game.
Yeah, trading for Claypool. Yeah, no kidding. Hey, well, did you hear what Mike McDaniel said? Why they traded for Claypool?
Yeah, because he's really fast or something like that.
He's fast. It's cool or something like that.
He's awesome. I actually like
how they
really.
build their
I wish-
offense.
Yeah.
Speed.
I mean, in all honesty, for what they gave up, you probably moved back 20 picks in the draft, right?
I mean,
and-
it just doesn't really matter.
No,
at that
it doesn't. So,
I mean, if
taking-
Chase Claypool pans out at all as a wide receiver 3-4 for them, then they won that trade just because
Yes.
like
whoever you
both
draft-
players that are in that, both players that are going to be drafted, that there's a 98% chance they never do anything.
yes, there's honestly a high chance they don't even end up on your roster. You know what I mean? Like they don't even make it through camp.
Yeah.
So
If Jalen Ramsey didn't get hurt preseason, do you think that's a little different look defense right now? Or I mean, Diggs just exploded last week, and he just
Yeah,
yes, but at the same time, let's not act like Jalen Ramsey has done well against let's think about week 1 last year. You know what I mean? When the Bills played the Rams and Ramsey got torched by Diggs in that game too. So I agree. I think it will be significantly better, right? You don't just add a top 5 corner and not get better. But I still think Diggs would have got off. I think Diggs just has him.
I'm kind of with Nick too here. Jalen Ramsey's he has been great. He is great, but he is a little overrated. I feel like at this point, he's not like a complete shutdown guy anymore.
No, he's not. He's no Sauce Gardner, that's for sure.
Speaking of Sauce, my last sit for this week is Russell Wilson.
Okay.
You thought I was going to say Zach Wilson, like anybody's starting Zach Wilson.
I'm starting him over Herbert this week. So.
Oh, that's actually, I think I'd rather start Herbert in case he throws a couple picks and then gets taken out. It's -4. But Jets are unbelievable this year against the pass. I mean, or defending the pass.
Yeah.
They made Josh Allen throw 3 picks. They made Mahomes throw 3. It really was 2, but that holding call was absolute BS on Sauce. That was on the pick. But I mean, if they make 2 of the top 4 to 5 QBs in the league look bad, I'm pretty sure that they're going to be okay game planning against Russell Wilson.
Well, the other thing too is that after week 1, we were like, "Oh, Josh Allen's terrible. Like his decision making's crap, right?" Like, and then ever since then, he's been unreal.
Yeah.
Like he's the favorite to win MVP right now after his week 1. So was it him playing terrible, or was he just playing a really, really good defense? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like, well, like last week, Mahomes was 18 for 30, which is well below what he usually does. Oh, thanks, Nick.
I appreciate it, Nick. See you next time, man.
And he had 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 2/3 picks. Like that's crazy to do against Mahomes. So this defense is on fire right now.
No, they are. DJ Reed, I don't think is playing.
Yeah, he's not playing. Yeah, he got pulled out.
Which is going to be, dude, by the way, the funniest clip ever last week when he's flying in. Like, you're watching, Mahomes is like scrambling out, and DJ Reed just comes flying past him. You know, he was just he was like, oh, man, I don't want to get flagged. Don't want to get a flag.
I saw a tweet, and it was like somebody told him, like, mid-play, like, don't ruin, like, it was like part of the script. Like,
I saw something. It was like that too. It said, "Think about the world almost drastically changed for NFL here for a second."
Yeah. All I gotta say is if that's Ed Reed, like
if that's Sean Taylor, Mahomes doesn't play for the next like 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, he's in concussion protocol for the next year and a half.
That's like a Tua. Like Tua last year, how long he was out? That's how long it would have been out.
Yeah, dude, no kidding. But Alec, you and I are aligned though with that. I mean, I'm saying bench Jerry Jeudy. You're saying bench Russell Wilson. We're aligned there.
If you're gonna ride with that, I was gonna say I got 2 upset picks for teams this week. One I said was the Texans. I honestly like the Jets this week in a upset win over the Broncos. So I back you guys as well. But
yeah.
Well, the other thing too, and Zach Wilson has had the exact same like issue with his offense as Daniel Jones has, right? And he gets pressured so much that it's really hard. And don't get me wrong, Zach Wilson has played terrible in his NFL career, like terrible. But he's been pressured so much. And this Denver pass rush is not that good. And in general, they're just not a good defense. Like, look at what Justin Fields just did to him. Now, granted, I understand Justin Fields played really well against the Commanders last night too. Commanders are awful. Don't get me wrong. Like, let's not forget about what A.J. Brown did to them 2 weeks ago. Like, so, like, Justin Fields tore this Denver Broncos team up. I would expect that Zach Wilson is going to at least be able to be decent. And Justin Fields thrown to DJ Moore as his wide receiver 1. Garrett Wilson's better than DJ Moore. And I can promise you that the backfield of Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook is significantly better than Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson.
Yeah. You'd think.
Well, I'm not even mentioning, dude, Khalil Herbert ran for he had 17 carries for 100+ yards. Imagine what Breece Hall is going to do to this defense, right? I mean, Alec, you are all in on Breece Hall.
I'm all in. I'm literally I literally took out a loan and bought more chips and put them on Breece Hall. I'm all in.
Yeah. So do you think the Jets win this game this weekend or no?
That's tough. I do like it. I do like the matchup. The problem is that I can't definitively put my name next to a Jets money line just because of how bad Zach Wilson's been. But the Zach Wilson over-under for passing yards is 200 or something. I think that might be a good prop bet this week just because I think that he could get that and they could win, but I'm not super confident in it.
Yeah. I know, Zima, you mentioned upset pick. I have one here, and I think the Rams win this week. The Eagles have been trending toward a loss. So you look at this. You beat New England barely. You beat Minnesota by a touchdown, but realistically, you kind of dominated that game. It was a late comeback by Minnesota. You beat a bad Tampa Bay team, and you barely beat Washington. And we just saw how bad Washington is. They just got blown out on national television by the Bears. I would expect if you're going to let Washington put up 28 points against you, wide receiver 1 is a huge upgrade. You're going to Cooper Kupp now from Terry McLaurin. Wide receiver 2, Puka's been miles better than Jahan Dotson this season, right? Tyler Higbee's better than Logan Thomas, what we've seen. This offense, and not even mentioning Stafford over Sam Howell, is a huge upgrade. This offense is just so much better. If you're giving up 28 points to the Washington Commanders, I expect the Rams to put up 30+ minimum, and I see this as an upset win.
Yeah, Yeah.
At home too. I mean, looking through the other ones, I don't know if I see any other big upsets coming through here.
I think one that I could definitely see happening, just because it's a interdivision rivalry, I could see Pittsburgh beating the Ravens this week.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I could for sure see that, just because, I mean, it's -4. Steelers are at home. I don't know exactly the stat, but Mike Tomlin has a crazy record against the spread off a loss, like with a home game. Like it's just some crazy number. So I could see that happening.
Trying to get you to put your name near that Jets money line here. So the Jets have played. Listen to the defensive fronts, like the stars they played. Chris Jones, Micah Parsons. They've played the Bills pass rush, which has been really good this year. Look what they just did to the Dolphins, right? And then they played Matthew Judon and the Patriots, right? Like they're playing the Broncos, and they just traded Randy Gregory.
Yeah, Nick Benito, dude. What are you talking about? Nick Benito is a star.
Yeah. So like I just don't like excluding the Bears game. I think the Broncos have like 3 sacks on the year, and then Randy Gregory had like 1 of them. So excluding the Bears game, they haven't had much pressure on quarterbacks at all. So this will be Zach Wilson's game to hit that over 200. But
I think that honestly, like if this was the game for Zach Wilson to I know he kind of broke out last week, but to prove that it wasn't just a 1-game thing, this is like the perfect matchup.
Yes, you're getting limited pressure on you. Your running game is going to be dominating when you want it to. You're going to have time. You're going to have the opportunities to blow up here if you want to. I'm completely with you there. I do want to, as we bring this to the end here, let's lock in your underdog pick. You got to choose an underdog here. We'll do this each week, starting right now. And I'm gonna lock in the Rams. I'm locking it in right now. So Rams are my locked in underdog. Zemo? Texans. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Does Texans count if it's only minus or plus 1.5?
I know. If we're not going Texans, then I'll go Jets. But
I have one that's crazy, and you guys are gonna
if you say the Panthers. If you say Panthers, dude.
No. I'm not. Okay. No.
Okay, come on now.
I was thinking I was gonna say it just to really make you angry and act just keep it going for a little bit, but I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Don't hate me or anything. I'm gonna say the Vikings over the Chiefs.
I don't mind it.
It's only 3.5. That's kind of fishy.
It's in Minnesota.
Yeah. Nico Collins or Calvin Ridley?
Yeah, Collins or Ridley. I'm gonna play Nico Collins.
I know.
I think so too. Just because of the Bills defense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think Von Miller's going to play too. So
yeah, well, the pass rush is unreal, and that just means that Ridley is going to struggle to have more than be open more than 10 yards down the field because they just don't have time to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would go Nico Collins. Yep. Okay, so I locked in the Rams. Zemo, you locked in the Texans, and Alec, you are lucky.
If we're counting the Texans, I'll go Jets. I can go Jets this week because I don't know if Texans really count.
All right,
we got to have.
What are we gonna say?
-1.
What are we gonna say? The cutoff has to be over 2.5.
Has to be minus. Yeah, it has to be at least 2.5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at least has to be at least plus 120.
Okay, at least plus 1.
Yeah, I think Texas is plus 110 or 115. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense.
Let's check this real quick. Yeah. So,
I mean, yeah, that's
should I trade Brandon Ayuk?
Trade Brandon Ayuk for Mason Rudolph.
Okay, this is what I was thinking, and it'll never happen. It'll never happen ever. But
I don't know what you're about to say, dude.
No, I'm being dead serious. 49ers will not be able to pay Brandon Ayuk. Okay.
Okay.
So what if he went to the Panthers and was the true number 1? Not this year, but I'm just saying maybe in the offseason.
Oh, I thought you were saying for this.
No, maybe in the offseason or something. I was just thinking about that.
Oh no, I could see it, dude. I think him and T. Higgins, right, is coming up. There are some good, and Devontae Smith is getting towards the end of his rookie deal. There are some really good, the best wide receiver 2s in the league are starting to get to the point where they're gonna go elsewhere and become 1s probably. You know what I mean?
That's where the Texans start dying.
Oh my God, dude! T. Higgins on the on the Texans would be nuts. I mean, any of those guys.
Imagine the Texans said, "Screw it, we're getting both Brandon Ayuk and T Higgins." Stroud is just in heaven.
You know, it'd be hilarious as if the Falcons got Ayuk or something too, and they still ran the ball 70% of the time. That'd be hilarious.
And they still started.
It'd be hilarious.
No, just wait till you see the Falcons trade up to the second overall pick and
To take Marv.
and draft Marv. Yeah,
Dude, I wouldn't.
I do want to get through. I do need one more start just to frustrate Alec even more before we
oh
go.
yeah,
You're gonna say Josh Dobbs.
Last start
yeah.
is Josh
Oh my
Dobbs.
God, no, dude.
How? Like, how can you say no? Josh Dobbs has been fantasy relevant for 3 of his 4 weeks, and his rushing upside's there, and so give him 40 rushing yards on 30 to 40, and he's already getting points there. And again, Bengals offense hasn't sustained any drives, and he's been doing these fantasy games against the Cowboys, the 49ers, and he's putting up 20 points
Alec.
average between those two
Alec,
games.
you guys made Ryan Tannehill.
I
fantasy.
know. I was waiting for. I was literally about to say Ryan Tannehill went for
I mean, come on,
240
man.
and was like 20 for 27.
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah, like Josh Dobbs is about to have a week.
No,
Yeah.
he's not.
Pick
He's
him up,
not.
start for
the
Dak.
Bengals defense is good positive regression to the mean, and I will be rooting heavily against Josh Dobbs. So
Yeah, that's all right. But you're gonna be upset then.
I'm
but-
going to be very upset.
Yeah.
I would also be
Yeah,
very upset.
Josh Dobbs and James Conner are just destroying you guys.
I would also,
again.
I would also be upset if somebody sent me a trade offer for Brandon Ayuk. If it was Mason Rudolph, I'd be very upset about that.
Yeah. Would you be so upset you'd hit Mason Rudolph in the head with a helmet or no?
Well, it would depend on what he said, but if he was making fun of me, I might hit him in the head.
All right. Well,
Josh Dobbs has more passing touchdowns, less interceptions, and averages more yards per game through the air than Joe Burrow,
I mean, dude,
and has a 71%.
I mean, dude,
completion
Derek Carr last
percentage,
week
whereas
Derek Carr averaged 3 yards an attempt, dude. I don't want to hear.
yeah. Well, my quarterback's the best quarterback in this
Burrow
league
has a
right now. So
57% completion percentage.
Okay, I can't have a logical conversation. This is a good way to end it. I can't have a logical conversation if you're going to say Josh Dobbs, even if Joe Burrow's hurt, is better than Joe Burrow. I can't. I'm sorry.
Well, I never said he was better. I was just telling you.
Fantasy wise, actually, Josh Dobbs might be better because Josh Dobbs actually runs. He's actually a really good athlete.
yeah. Alex pissed off now,
Yes.
so we'll end it
No,
now.
I promise I'm not. We stink.
Zemo, you locked in the Jets, right? You
Yep.
locked in the Jets. Alec, who are you locking in here?
I think. Okay, so I'm between the Steelers and the Vikings. I think I'm gonna go the Vikings just to kind of like be on a limb here.
I'm thinking about locking in the Cardinals, but just kidding. But okay, so we got
You
Eagles,
should.
we got Eagles, Vikings, and the Jets. All right. This has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk.